Welcome to Sports in the 607, where we talk games people play. Here's your host, Bob Michaels.
Well, welcome back, everybody. As we get ready to talk sports today, our subject is football and coaching and experiences and working with players. And I'm pleased to announce that Randy Holden is joining us today. Randy, the longtime coach in the Corning School District. Coach, it's good to welcome you back, and it's good to see you. We did touch base at some point during the summer of 25, but here we are, another school year begins, and for you, you're not on the sidelines, but I would imagine that there is not a day in which you don't at least sample a little bit of sports. Am I right?
Oh, without question. I'm still have a lot of connections with, some of the Corning staff, Timmy Hughes, Jeff Waxmunski, Rosie. They were all on my staff, and they're, continuing to do their good work. Jason Miller and David Shaw at Waverly are two of my, I would call them my football friends. And there's a few other coaches that occasionally reach out, maybe not advice, but maybe a little bit of conceptual information that I might still have in my aging brain. And I've always been a fan of all sports. My grandkids are playing lacrosse now. It's a situation where it's literally part of my genetics. I want to thank the coaches that I was exposed to and my opportunities to actually get to have some influence in Corning and at Southside and for some degree at Waverly during my career. But yeah, I still am involved.
Well, fans who do not know Randy Holden, we're introducing him to the world today through Sports in the 607. And Randy, I want to go back just a little bit. We won't dwell on it too much, but you're a product of Elmira Southside High School. You played football there for the legendary Tom Hurley. Talk a little bit about those early days and how you got involved.
Well, I was pretty slight build kid, and my first real interpersonal reaction with Tom Hurley, who, by the way, he's my football father. He treated me unbelievably well. I think there was some common denominator, maybe unspoken, that we both shared. But he told me my junior year that he was going to cut me because I was slight until he saw me like I had speed, and ended up getting moved to defense. And after my college career at Mansfield, he gave me the opportunity to work for 1 year on the JV staff with Buddy Hulser and Paul Vincent, God rest Paul's soul. And then eventually I got to move up and work directly with Tom. And if there's anything he left a lasting impression on me it's with respect to motivation. He has an incredible branch of really accomplished football players that went on to coach. Dick Senko, myself, George Petroni. You got Jimmy Gush. You got Kevin Callahan. All products of the Tom Hurley influence, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity to be associated with Southside High School football as a coach and as a player, and then take what I learned from that experience on to Corning and other places.
Well, Randy Holden, obviously known for coaching, but Coach, you were a classroom teacher, and what was your first? When did you first start in school district? And if I'm not mistaken, you were a math teacher. Am I correct?
Yeah, people ask me, do I miss coaching? And to some degree, I do. Your life goes in cycles, Bob. All inclusive, I coached high school football for 42 years at various levels and at various facilities. But I honestly, right now, I probably miss the classroom to some degree more than I miss coaching. There's an incredible amount of stress coaching now. There was then. I always said that coaches can't win games; they can only lose them, and I still believe that that's the truth. Your job is to prepare your athletes to be, successful on any playing field. In the classroom, you have 184 days to facilitate change. And I often said that you can't change in 40 minutes what mom and dad created in 17 years, but you can influence it. And so you had a lot of redos in the classroom. There are no redos on the outcome of a Friday night game or a Saturday
Right.
game, and there certainly aren't any redos after being eliminated in the playoffs. So the level of stress coaching was it damn near killed me. But I got a lot of rewards in the classroom. So I enjoyed my time at Troy Middle School, which was a completely different environment than teaching at in Corning at the high school level. But many of the connections I have with young people are just as firmly based on my classroom experience as they are coaching football and lacrosse for 42 years.
Well, we're going to look at a timeline with Randy Holden when we return on sports in the 607. Right now, let's take a break. Sports in the 607 is presented in part by Empire Sports of the Southern Tier. So glad you're staying with us here. We're talking sports with Randy Holden. Met Coach back in, I'm believing, probably the early 80s. And Randy,
82, I believe.
you've been involved. We talked about coaching and classroom teaching and all of that. And I remember that there was a time when Corning East football was floundering. And right around 84, 85, you joined forces with Bob Streeton to try to right the ship, so to speak. And was it, am I correct in thinking that 1985 was a turning point for the gridiron activity there?
I think actually the turning point might have been, I think in '84, Bob. Bob and his staff had struggled. Corning East football had taken a huge, I don't know, step backwards after the McMillan brothers left, and the guys like Devin Bonnick, who they played Division I football at Wake Forest and Oklahoma State. For what reason, it's unknown. High school sports is cyclic, without question. And I gotta say that Ken Burmeister had a lot of influence when we come into Corning because I had student taught at Corning East before I moved to Troy Middle School and ultimately coached at Southside High School. And I also feel that Bill Walker and maybe even Arnie Northrup, through some conversation, had an idea that Tom Hurley thought I had potential. But yeah, like by '84, we had some great athletes: Brian LeBaron, Tony Pavlik. So the cupboard was no longer bare, and I'm not denigrating the kids that played before because, like I said, the high school athletes, the town of Senate is the best they got. And but Brian LeBaron, Tony Pavlik, Mike Sindoma, some of those players that I remember distinctly the first year I was on the varsity, we turned it around. We beat Corning West for the first time, and I have no idea how many times, how many years, and I have ultimate respect for Arnie and his staff. So yeah, that was the turning point. I don't want to say a turning point. That was just an indication that you can rise from the ashes, and that's what happened.
And in 1986, the head coaching job became yours. Talk about what that experience was like, especially when you got the nod and appointed the head coach.
So it was kind of a bittersweet thing. I would say, despite my persona, there's always a question to anybody that wants to climb to the next level: are you ready? And there was a significant change in not defensive scheme because Bob pretty much gave me carte blanche defensively when I worked for him, as he did with lacrosse. But offensively, we first started running the option in my very first year, and that was something that raised some level of concern because I hadn't really coached the offensive scheme before that can put so much pressure on the kid pulling the trigger, the quarterback. People don't realize that the best thing about an option quarterback is not necessarily the athleticism; it's their decision making. And but we had a kid named Mike Loudenslager who was he was our first option quarterback, and he put us back in the route. We beat EFA that year for the first time, and I have no idea how many times. So yeah, it was. And I was young. I didn't internalize the pressure. I just thought, high school football, blah, That obviously changed. With success comes pressure, expectations raised, primarily on ourselves, and the fear of failure was it magnified as my career moved
You
on.
know, you've been dropping names, and the thing that one of the things that I enjoyed most about working alongside you with me as a broadcaster, you as a coach, you always labeled some kids with some names that just kind of stuck permanently. I think about Frankie Amos, Frank the Gun Amos.
Oh, actually, no, it was Frank
I'm sorry,
Optionamus.
it was Option
Mike
Amos
Gotko the
and
gun.
Mike the
Mike
Gun
Gotko was the
Gotko.
gun. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, so Frankie Option was an incredible option quarterback, and people don't realize in 1989 we could have been state champs. We were a Class B school, and we played UE, who was Double A in the Section 4 Bowl. Lost 21 to
Right.
19, and then they went on down to the it was not a semifinal. It was next level after the Section 4 Bowl, and won the state title 52-7. So that fact that we didn't win a state title that year does not give true testimony to how good that team was.
You know, Randy, in 1989, I had especially that game that you talked about. I remember calling it from Ty Cobb Stadium. They had that huge utility pole that sat at the 50-yard line. And if you were sitting in the broadcast booth, which had corrugated siding on the thing and those old tip-out windows, you'd have to either lean left or lean right, especially if the ball was at midfield. But we were talking about nicknames, and there was a kid who played for you. I believe he was a tight end, Tony the Rock Rucco, and a touchdown pass was thrown. He's racing into the end zone, and of course the kid, he had a flair for dramatics. He looks over his shoulder, extends his hand with the football over his head, looks over his shoulder, and just kind of does a nice high step into the end zone. You bringing up that sort of thing, I had not thought about that thought in years, but just some fun times. We're moving ahead, talking with Randy Holden. And so the lead up, the formation of Randy taking over the program in '86. How about that run up year of 2003 with the squad that ultimately set the table for a state championship from '06? Talk about that.
So the 02 team was really very good, and we lost to a very talented EFA team in the sectionals that year. One of the things people don't realize is that we chose to move up a classification not to avoid Shenango Forks, because we actually pretty much dominated Shenango Forks, but because of the travel. We would have to drive to Norwich on a Friday night and then turn around, and I'd have to go scout Onion or Sus Valley and drive by Southside, EFA, Horseheads, even Maine Endwell to play a game so far removed from home. But that squad, the best I can tell you about it, they put us on the map. We were not even ranked, I don't believe, in September, and just kept finding a way to win, And we were huge underdogs against Victor. We actually we put a part, and this can be validated by my players, we put a defense in the parking lot. We called it Parking Lot D because we were beat up. We lost Graydon Losey. Danny Sheen was hurt. So the defensive scheme we had some deficits personnel-wise. So literally, we went from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 defense. And we called it Parking Lot D. You can talk to any of the players. They'll tell you that's what we ran. The best thing I can tell you about that team, the most memorable moment, was we were ahead by, I think, 3 points. We had 4th and 3 on maybe our 48-yard line with under a minute left. And I called for what I called stud punt, which was basically leaving the entire first team in, taking Felix out and having our punter punt it. So we go out.
Felix Forbes.
The kids, Yes, Felix Forbes goes aside, starts to the sideline, and Mike Hatton and Mike Zielinski and a few others go, Coach, you tell us it's our team. I said, yeah, it's your team. He says, we want to go for it. I said, what? And he's up on the press box, and he goes, Coach, we want to go for it. You say it's our team. We want to make that decision. We want to go for the first down. So I go to Husey. I'm going, hey, we're going for it. Dead silence. So I said, give me a play. He sends a play down, and they look at me and we don't want to run that play. Okay. Uh, so what do you want to do? We want to put our best running back behind our best two offensive linemen. I said, all right, call the play. And I went to the sidelines. Believe it or not, I didn't watch the play because I walked the sideline and I'm kind of like thinking, okay, this is going to be the ball game one way or the other. Long story short, Felix almost broke it for a touchdown. And that's when I realized we had arrived because the kids had taken such incredible stewardship and they were also willing to risk everything on one play. And the sophomores that I brought up to be basically spectators to that game, they saw and knew it as well. And if there's any fingerprint other than saying we are worthy, we have arrived, we can compete, it was that decision could be made further on down the line by the players and not necessarily by the coaches.
Okay, hold that thought for a moment, Randy. We'll take a break and be back with more Talking Football with Randy Holden. Sports in the 607, presented by First Heritage Federal Credit Union. We looked at 2002, setting things up for some winning situations. 2003, Corning comes up just a little bit short in the state football championship. And then the curtain rises for 2006. And Randy, that is probably, from my perspective, calling Corning East football one of the most memorable seasons ever, and your first ever and the only state championship in football. What do you remember most about the boys that played for you? I think it was Smurf football, if I'm not mistaken.
We were tiny, but the whole principle of triple options put speed in space. We had that, the analogy, because I always get asked by the '03 team who would win if they played each other, and I told the '03 kids that they were like a great white shark. That if you were going to take a scuba dive in the Great Barrier Reef and a great white shark decides it wants to eat you, you were dead. The '06 team, they were a school of piranhas. So if you decided you wanted to go peacock bass fishing in the Amazon River, and a school of piranhas looked at you and said, you know what, I'd like to eat that guy, you were dead too. So in the '06 team was a school of piranhas. And just fearless. They were devoted to each other, no egos, no blame. I would say that is such a key to success, is to be willing as a player and as a squad to accept responsibility for failure and to share your success. And there was the egos never entered into the equation. Disciplined. Our little quarterbacks, I mean, they were tiny little kids. He was first team All State. He was a great decision maker as well as a great athlete. And Sean Rowe, who was probably known mostly for his basketball prowess, he was a coach on the sideline. We literally had a call. I would send it in on defense, would be I would bang my chest like that, and that meant on me. And that meant that Sean would look at the formation and make on the field adjustments without any reprisal from me whatsoever, because he was such an incredible student of the game. And he had a lot to do with our defensive success. People talk about our offense. We gave up one field touchdown in the state tournament, and that, we gave up a kickoff return. But we played unbelievable defense, and it was because they were a school of piranhas.
Sean Rowe shared with me there was a celebration after the state championship in the gymnasium at Corning East. And I did some one-on-one interviews with the Flory brothers, and I talked to Sean and I said, what do you remember most? And he says, you know what? I was a gym rat playing football. He says, I probably was the least talented of the group of guys that surrounded me. But he said, Randy, and I think a compliment to you, it was thanks to Coach Holden and his coaching staff that brought these kids together. It was set up, previously with the '03 team, '04 team, and with '06 coming to fruition, probably cemented a lot of lifelong memories for all of those boys. Lacrosse is our next subject. We'll talk that over with Randy Holden. Right now we have to pay the rent, and we'll return shortly. Sports in the 607, brought to you by On a Roll, Hanover Square Horseheads. We're doing a lot of time hopping here today on Sports in the 607. Our guest is Randy Holden, won a state championship in football, and changed gears a little bit. After the merger of Corning East and Corning West, which was back in 2010, by 2012, Randy Holden, who had worked lacrosse with the legendary Bob Streeton, took over the program. As he told me back then, this is only temporary. I'm just here to maybe not so much put a Band-Aid on it, but as you move along, and Randy, the experience that you gathered, there's a lot of similarities in many different sports. Did you find that to be true when you made that transition from football to lax?
Absolutely. So I think, people would, obviously people were surprised that I spent so many years with Bob because I didn't play lacrosse, but I was a hockey player, hockey goalie, and the similarities are unbelievably common. And I learned a lot from Bob, and, I appreciated everything he shared with me with respect to the game of lacrosse, and he gave me carte blanche defensively. But you know what? Somebody asked me about it, and I said, I don't coach lacrosse. I don't coach football. I coach kids. And I think if you go in with that mindset and still are willing to work, I don't care if you're coaching basket weaving, that you're coaching young people, and you have a chance to leave a fingerprint on them and give them some athletic success. That should be your number one goal. So I remember, people were surprised I was selected, and I remember being, I don't know, cornered a little bit, and I just told people I'm not going to flinch. I'm just not gonna. I know enough of the game, and I know enough about motivating kids and giving them ownership. And I had good assistants too, and that's throughout my career. I had people that were definitely contributory to our success. But I just wanted to kind of. There was the merger, I think, brought a conflict of two cultures, the East Tide and West Tide culture, both athletically and administratively. And it was going to take a while for the dust to settle. And I really had no intentions of ever being a head lacrosse coach. But I felt that at that time, I was the best transitional coach, I guess would be the best way to describe myself. Because I was obviously going to retire from teaching very, very soon. And I think it worked out very well. I mean, we beat Binghamton. We beat Ithaca for the first time in a couple of years. We did ultimately lose to Ithaca in the sectionals, but I think we made a good transition. I don't think there are a lot of people that were disappointed with our season. I certainly, to some degree, was. I was hoping that we would get to a state final or whatever, but ultimately I still hear from players that were on that team, John Tokar, some of the others, and I think that their opinion matters more to me than media or parents.
Randy Holden with us today on Sports in the 607. A look at some final numbers, and the coach steps down. That's coming up next. Sports in the 607 is brought to you by Solutions Federal Credit Union. So we want to kind of put a closure on this conversation, but with Randy Holden, that's never ever going to happen. As we could talk for an eternity, and you know, when you think about a guy who's been involved with teaching and coaching for so many years, and myself in the broadcast business, it's always good to catch up with Coach, which I did over the summer of 25 on one special occasion. I think this is certainly worth mentioning. As a football coach at Corning East, you compiled a record of 123 wins, 74 losses, 4 ties. That's over 21 seasons. And the best record of sorts was since 2003, a 43-4 record. And that is nothing to sneer at. You did get out of teaching and coaching, citing some health issues, but I would get personal at this moment and ask how you're doing nowadays.
So only the good die young, Bob. So you're probably in trouble. But long story short, it'll be 22 years in January that I had my episode playing hockey. I just got back from a Wyoming pronghorn antelope hunt. I hope to get an out tag next year. Kim and I are spending our kids' inheritance. Collectively, I don't feel 73. I just finally quit playing hockey at 71 because I need a new hip. But like I said, I don't even think about it. I just want to hit the ball going 100 miles an hour and not be in pit lane. So I got a great health care, and my wife's a retired family nurse practitioner, so I can't get away with anything. But collectively, I feel great. I feel awesome.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing us to intrude a little bit with your past and reminisce with me. And one of the things that, as you see our desk here in the backdrop of Corning Memorial Stadium, I would always position myself before a big football game or any football game that I was calling on radio. And Randy would come out from around the backside of the school at Corning High School and walk across the field, and we'd be 100, 200 feet away. And if you listen real closely, he'd say, "All right, Robert, come on, let's get this over with now." This is over, but it's only the beginning of, I'm sure, a few more conversations, Coach. I wish you well. I thank you so much for your friendship over the years, and good fortune to you, Coach.
Same to you and your family, and all the athletes that are in the Corning community.
Thanks for joining us for Sports in the 607. We'll have another segment coming soon.